Hello, Julian Schwartz here again with JJW Productions. Today on this cold winter day, I thought what better way to start off the new year than doing a different kind of car review video. So today I'm doing a comparison video. As you can see here, this is my sister's 2017 Subaru Impreza. I did a review of it a couple weeks ago. And when I did the review, one of my friends who owns a 2016 Subaru Impreza, he wanted to see it, see what they changed, what's different about the newer Imprezas. So I thought, what better way to do that than do a comparison of the 16 versus the 17. So without further ado, let's get to the comparison. All right, so to start, right here on my left is a 16 Subaru Impreza. This car was loaned to me by one of my friends who graciously came out on this cold winter day. And on the right is my sister's 17 Impreza. Now, to start off this comparison, first, the front ends. Starting with the 16s, the headlights are a little bit different. They're a little bit bigger and they go a little bit more ways up on the side fenders than the 17 does. The grille is also a little bit larger, and it extends more onto the hood, which is a little bit shorter, and it's also a little bit more rounded off. It looks a little bit more like a sports car than the 17 does. On the 17s, the headlights are a little bit thinner. They don't extend up onto the hood as much as the 16s do, and then the grille itself is also a little bit smaller. It's a little bit lower on the fender, and then there's a little bit more body panel between the hood and the actual grille. It's also not as rounded off and doesn't look as sporty as the 16 does. So, what did they change about the back end of the Imprezas? Starting with the 16 again, the taillights were drastically changed between the 16 and the 17. On the 16s, they're a little bit more flush with the fender than the 17s are. They don't protrude out as much, and they're a little bit bigger on the fender itself. On the trunk, there's actually a piece where you can grab the latch to open the physical trunk. And then the backup camera is also moved. It's not in the center of the trunk as one would usually find it, but it's off to the left. So whenever you're looking at the backup camera on your screen in the car, it's not a centered image. The third brake light was also moved in the 16 versus the 17. The 16, it's actually down on the seat. The rear end of the 17s were changed drastically. The taillights were a little bit more protrude out from the fender itself, making them a little bit bigger. It also had a little bit bigger of a housing, with the taillights actually being integrated onto the trunk itself, with the reverse lights being on the trunk, then the brake light and the turn signal being on the fender. The trunk itself was also redesigned. It no longer had a piece where the latch for the trunk was, so you just grabbed the trunk and opened it up. Then the backup camera was also relocated from the 16 to the 17. On the 16, it was off a little bit to the left, whereas the 17, it's actually a little bit more center. The third brake light was also moved from the 16 to the 17. 16, it was down on the seats, whereas the 17, it's now up on the ceiling instead. The interior of the Imprezas were also changed drastically. Starting with the steering wheel, the button configuration was changed slightly. And then the center of the steering wheel was also made a little bit rounder with the horn. The dashboard was also changed slightly with the Infotainment Center. On the 16s, you had the vents and the emergency flasher button located up top, then the radio screen with the buttons on the side, and then the climate controls below that. The 17s moved the vents to fit alongside the radio itself, so the screen is actually a little bit wider for the 17 Impreza. Then the radio selector buttons are now below it in one cluster. The emergency flasher button is now located where the climate controls are, which are a little bit lower on the dashboard. The center console was also changed a little bit from the 16 to the 17. On the 16, the heated seat selectors were actually behind the parking brake, making it hard for the driver to see where the buttons were. It also didn't help that the center console armrest slid up, so half the time the heated seat selectors were hidden. The 17s fixed this issue by angling the center console armrest, making it easier to access the second cup holder. They also relocated the heated seat selectors to right behind the gear shift selector as opposed to behind the parking brake, making it easier for the driver to select high or low and operate the heated seats. The door panel was also redesigned from the 16 to the 17, with the window regulators being redesigned greatly, and also being flat with the door panel itself as opposed to on the 17s where they were actually angled off. The other major difference is on the rearview mirrors with the garage door buttons. On the 16s, the garage door buttons are actually on the front of the mirror, whereas on the 17s, they are on the underside below the mirror, where it's a little bit more difficult to find them if you don't know where they're at. So which Impreza do I like better, the 16 or the 17? Well, to be honest, I like the looks of the 16s a little bit better. They look a lot more sportier with the rounded off front end and the larger grille, whereas the 17s look like any other car. It doesn't look as sporty, and I don't really like that about it. So, to end this comparison, as I said, I like the 16s better because of the sportier look. I do like the 17's features though on the interior. They changed the design around. I like how the heated seat selector is in a different location, makes it easier for the driver to see. And the radio is a little bit bigger, the screen itself. So combine the two, you have the perfect Subaru. So if you like this video, please hit that like button down below. And if you have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button to stay updated on my channel, to see future videos, and to see any previous car review videos. Till next time, I'm Julian Schwartz. Take care.